Nestled in the misty hills of the Ardennes, just outside the quiet village of Stoumont, lies a forgotten monument to a darker chapter of medical history. The Sanatorium du Basil, an imposing and eerie structure, rises from the landscape like a sentinel guarding the secrets of the past. Its crumbling walls and faded grandeur whisper tales of a time when it was a refuge for the sick, a place where patients suffering from tuberculosis came in search of hope and healing. The story of Sanatorium du Basil begins in the early 20th century, when tuberculosis, known as the White Plague, was ravaging Europe. The disease spread with terrifying efficiency, claiming the lives of millions and creating an urgent need for specialized care. In response, the Belgian government constructed a series of sanatoriums, isolated from the bustle of city life, where patients could rest in the fresh, clean air of the countryside. The Sanatorium du Basil was one such facility, built atop a hill with panoramic views of the surrounding forests and valleys, a location chosen deliberately for its perceived healing power. The building itself was a grand creation of its time, designed to be both functional and aesthetic. With high, vaulted ceilings, wide windows, and a sprawling multi-story structure, the sanatorium looked more like a stately mansion than a medical institution. The doctors who ran the facility believed in the restorative powers of sunlight, fresh air, and rest, three things that were thought essential to curing tuberculosis. Patients would spend long months, sometimes years, confined to their rooms or the sun-dappled terraces, breathing in the crisp, cool air of the Ardennes as they awaited recovery. But despite the tranquil surroundings, life at the sanatorium was far from easy. The disease was relentless, and many who arrived with hope left only in body bags. It was a time when tuberculosis was often a death sentence, and Sanatorium du Basil became both a refuge and a grim reminder of human fragility. The patients, many of them young and full of life, had no choice but to endure the prolonged isolation, where the quiet whispers of their disease echoed through the long, shadowed hallways. As the years passed and medicine advanced, the need for such facilities began to wane. In the 1950s, the development of antibiotics such as streptomycin rendered tuberculosis sanatoriums largely obsolete. The once bustling hospital began to empty, and the Sanatorium du Basil, like many of its counterparts, fell into disuse. The grand building that had once been filled with the sounds of patients' footsteps and the murmur of doctors' orders fell silent. The last residents departed, leaving behind only empty rooms and lingering memories. Over the decades that followed, the sanatorium became a haunting monument to time's passage. The building, once a symbol of hope and healing, gradually deteriorated as nature began to reclaim its territory. Trees grew through the cracks in the walls, vines curled around the iron railings, and the roof, once sturdy and strong, caved under the weight of neglect. Though abandoned, the sanatorium never truly left the collective memory of the area. The people of Stoumont still tell stories about it, the way the building looms against the sky, how it seems to watch over the valley like a forgotten king, and how some say the ghosts of the patients still wander its halls. Urban explorers, drawn by the allure of abandoned places, began to make pilgrimages to Sanatorium du Basil in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. They would slip past the rusted gates and creep through the darkened corridors, cameras in hand, capturing haunting images of cracked plaster, faded wallpaper, and broken windows. For many, the experience was a journey into the past, a chance to walk in the footsteps of those who had lived and died within these walls. For others, the abandoned sanatorium held a more supernatural allure. Stories of strange noises, cold drafts, and the occasional flicker of light fueled rumors of hauntings, adding a layer of mystery to the building's already eerie reputation. Despite its deteriorating state, Sanatorium du Basil continues to capture the imagination. It is a place that feels suspended in time, a memorial to the tragedy of tuberculosis, the resilience of the human spirit, and the passage of history. But its days are numbered. The building, now owned by private individuals, is slowly decaying and faces the constant threat of collapse. There have been murmurs of restoration, of efforts to bring the sanatorium back to life in some form, but the cost of such a project is steep. The future of Sanatorium du Basil remains uncertain, leaving it, for now, as it has been for decades, a forgotten ghost of the past. For those who visit, the allure of the Sanatorium du Basil lies not only in its haunting decay, but in the stories it holds. The building is not just a place of history, it is a reflection of a time when life and death were intimately bound together in the struggle against a deadly disease. And perhaps, in the silence that fills its empty halls, one can still hear the echoes of those who once lived, loved, and hoped within its walls. Subscribe for more fascinating destinations.